Okay, so let's frame the review first. I never played the first Plague Tale. I have no attachment to the characters when I started this, and I watched a brief 5-minute YouTube video on the previous game's story before I started playing this one. Now that that's out of the way, let's begin, shall we? Plague Tale Requiem is an action-adventure, survival, horror, stealth video game developed by Asobo Studio, I think I'm saying that right, and published by Focus Entertainment. It's the sequel to the highly regarded Plague Tale Innocence from 2019, and follows siblings Amicia and Hugo de Rune, who must look for a cure to Hugo's blood disease in southern France while fleeing from soldiers of the Inquisition, and hordes of rats. Lots of rats, lots and lots of rats.
Tell us what to do and we'll get it done.
From the off, Requiem lets you know that despite its AA origins, it will be blurring the lines between AA and AAA often. The fantastic opening has an excellent score with Celtic tones. Superb lighting and pace, it sets the scene brilliantly for someone who hasn't played the first game and creates some attachment to the characters quickly. I had no idea actually what to expect from the game, other than I would be using some form of light manipulation to avoid the rats, so with all that being said, let's get lost in the world of 14th century France.
The house! I can do it! No! Come on! Please stop this! Please, Hugo, stop this! I'm coming to you! Get out! Must go. Don't stay there, lady, they're coming!
All in all, just from an aesthetic point of view, it's very hard not to be totally impressed by what Asobo have produced here. And it does leave you wondering, if this is what they can do on a AA budget, what could they do on a AAA budget? I would not be surprised to see a studio like this get snapped up by a bigger studio in the coming years. It looks great, as well as giving instant notice that you are in a bleak world at the worst of times. The music is haunting and sets a backdrop of true dread. The whispering by Amicia I thought I would get annoyed by, but honestly the fear in her voice and the whispering together just adds to the overbearing feeling of fear.
We wait for Arno! It's an order! Alright, you're cool.
He really is in the tower, and they'll storm it soon. Lucas, this is our last hope to save Hugo. Yes, we must get Manchester out before their chief arrives. Come on!
A variety of very calculated framed shots and vistas to bring not only the relationship between brother and sister into focus, but also the very dark, beautiful, twisted world they inhabit. Graphically, the game is beautiful. I played on the PC at 2K and it ran pretty smoothly really. There are some technical issues, most notably in the cutscenes, where you do get some really odd clipping and popping in. Not a huge amount, but I'd say it's enough for me to make a note of it here.
Amicia, clear a path for him. How? Place an ignifer on the tip of your bolts. Fire them into anything wooden. It will keep the bolts burning.
Sure. Lucas, I'll tell you when the way is clear.
Got it! Thanks! I can almost see a way through.
Done! You can come!
Yes!
If I was going to sum up the gameplay in a crass and short form manner, I would simply say this. Requiem plays like The Last of Us with the set pieces from Uncharted, and it does really feel like a Naughty Dog game at times. That doesn't sound at all bad, but the issue I had with the general flow of the game was that it never gets anywhere near the heights of the games it's trying to imitate. Yes, the sandbox was expanded from the previous game is what I'm told, because I never played it, but honestly I would say in a nutshell the gameplay did feel a touch repetitive, especially as you get further on in the game towards the back end. So basically you're given the pieces of the jigsaw along the way and asked to use them in a variety of different puzzles. Though the game does nothing truly original of its own on the gameplay front, the stealth struck distraction gameplay is very The Last of Us, chase sections are very Uncharted, the overall implementation is solid and it does feel like you are simply going from one puzzle room to the next puzzle room. Something just didn't quite fit right with the flow of the game, with the sandbox, with the combat and stealth sections that they constantly throw at you. Cinematic over the shoulder scenes are used to not only change the pace but also bring the dirtier, grittier parts of the world into sight. Now on to my next point, and the slight criticism is that Requiem does suffer from bloat. You could easily cut the runtime of this game by about 5 or so hours and still end up with the same result. It definitely has pacing issues, and there were some levels where I was just left thinking, come on, just let me get on with it, I want to see what happens in the story. Entered into the middle section of the game and it did begin to feel like a bit of a slog. I think that's a bit harsh, slog's probably the wrong word, but I can't think of a better word. But just as that begins to happen, the story goes up a few levels and then all of a sudden, the game's story has you absolutely captivated. Requiem is at its best when its haunting soundtrack is providing the atmosphere and backdrop to the dark side of the game's story.
Please don't hurt me!
Calm down! We're not with those men! You live here?
Yes! What is that? They're here!
Don't drop the torch! As long as you have it, they can't hurt you!
But what do they want with me?
Come to us! We have to go back up! The sun will protect us!
Calm down! You're safe in the light! Alright! Where do they come from? There's more coming!
A lot more! Keep moving!
There's too many! Don't stop!
Ignore them! Keep moving!
Yes!
That definitely comes in abundance later on in the game, or in the first half of the game that isn't quite the case. Often I find myself feeling that the game served up a sandwich of two pieces of excellent cinematic storytelling with the filler of some pretty standard puzzle solving gameplay and stealth sections. These sections are broken up by some fantastic set pieces, but as I said, they could have removed some puzzle stroke combat areas and left the set pieces in, and we would have had a much tighter knit product overall. Briefly on the stealth sections, they do overstay their welcome. The AI is okay. There are a few times the immersiveness of an otherwise really good scene is damaged by the AI. Like many games that have third parties or participants following you, it can flatten the level of immersion when the extra man walks right in front of an enemy who doesn't see him. Later on you do basically get Terminator 3000 at your side as the big dude goes around killing absolutely everything while he seems to be immune to everything. And he also uses the same combo every time. He's kind of like that kid in school, you know, when like back in the day someone used to bring their console and he used to play Mortal Kombat and they just used to constantly sweep all the time. That's basically like the gentleman you pick up halfway through this game. Anyway, don't get me wrong, it's not Dick Tana levels bad, but it could have been better. There is little to no enemy variety as well. I mean, it's generally rats or guys with a sword and shield, apart from this one guy in a gimp mask. He was pretty cool. I do love how the skill trees level up depending on how you play it. I like that. I don't know if everyone will, but I did. There isn't too much RPGing going on here. This is a very narrative driven linear game, and that's not a negative thing. I just wish there was a bit more variety to the way things were tackled on the combat and stealth fronts.
these people?
It's too late. Keep going.
Who is that?
Try to sleep, Hugo. Do that for me. Don't look. Keep your eyes closed.
Amicia, what happened?
It's the rats. They attacked.
No. No.
We're leaving, Hugo.
I'm sorry.
It's like my nightmare. It's because of me.
Calm down, please.
No. It's my fault.
No. Dreams are dreams, all right? I'll give you something on the boat. It will calm you down.
No. I wanted to stop for real.
I'm sorry.
I wanted to stop Amicia.
It will. In Marseille, they'll help you.
It's not true. You keep saying that. But you're lying.
Hugo, please calm down. You have the right to be sad and angry. But I won't let you down. You know it.
We'll find a way.
So though I may not have been blown away by the general structure of the minute-to-minute gameplay, I was, eventually, blown away by the level of delivery Asobo achieved on the story. Quite simply, by the end of the story, I was totally engrossed and bought into everything I saw, every character I talked to and witnessed. I gasped, I laughed, I teared up. If the gameplay has some marks of a AA game, then the story bears all the hallmarks of a fantastic AAA title. The story's theme is one of loss of self or the loss of identity, how we sometimes create pigeonholes for ourselves and seek out our own self-titled roles in life. How we can, to a fault, find our self-worth in a role we have found for ourselves and not actually in who we really are. Now the story does take a while to get going. The gameplay and story have kind of this weird inverse relationship. The gameplay holds your attention for the first half and then trails off, while the story doesn't really do too much for you at the beginning and then goes up about 1000 tiers. But once it gets going, it's an absolute joy, and it's really difficult to take your eyes off. One minor criticism, and it can be forgiven due to the execution elsewhere, is the sudden net-breaking changes in some character. You literally go kind of halfway across France with a guy and then he just suddenly decides to get you all almost killed for no reason whatsoever really. He was just like,
Fuck it, I don't need you.
So the story does really pick up halfway through, as I said, and it definitely adds an urgency to proceedings as you wish to unravel what will happen to Hugo and his sister. It's at the same point also that Hugo's character goes from insanely positive child, despite the horrible world he lives in, to sadly losing all innocence and that innocent view of the world. It's really sad to watch, and that is in credit to Asobo, because that's a difficult thing to pull off, but they pull it off really well. I actually thought I'd find Hugo very annoying, but the way his character is developed and the arc of his character is excellent. It's superbly done. From this point in the game, to put simply, the story just becomes devastatingly dark. It holds no punches, it doesn't pull any soft turns, it paints a bleak world with bleak consequences. Even though the higher quality stuff is held back and is backloaded, the storytelling here is up there with some of gaming's best. In the latter stages, the change to the tone of the game is not only unsettling, it's desperately sad. Maybe even a touch depressing, but it's also incredibly impactful. At its heart, Plague Tale is a brilliant narrative-driven atmospheric experience. Yes, the movement is a little bit stiff and the gameplay can be a bit samey at times. The walking sections do feel after a while like a bit of quicksand, and it takes a bit of time to truly get going and pull you in, but when it does, it is a truly spellbinding cinematic experience that leaves you gasping and shrieking at your screen like all fantastic movies do. As someone who never played the original, I really enjoyed Requiem. Yes, it's not perfect, and some people, like me, might wonder what all the fuss is about after the first 6 or 7 chapters, but everything does really come together soon after that, and I was all in for the ride. By the end, I truly did understand why the series is so revered. You do wonder what Asobo could pull off with a bigger budget, like I said previously. Here's hoping we get to find out. So all in all, I'm feeling a light to decent 8 for Requiem. It's free on Game Pass right now, and I would recommend sitting down with the game for a long weekend and enjoy the experience. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the review, hit a like. If you want to see more, or don't, I'll do whatever. Really, I'm just here because I love doing this, and if you want to support me, feel free to. Take care, look after yourselves, and yeah, let's hit up God of War Ragnarok, shall we?